Welcome to SnPSports. I'm Matt, and Popcorn Knife Mahler.
Ryan, Showtime Velasquez.
And we're going to talk about the NFC. And just like the AFC, we're going to break it down to 4 parts. Today is part 1. Part 1, we're going to start with the NFC East. So, it's
NFC
Saturday.
least.
Yeah. So it's Saturday night, so sit back, grab a beer if you want, and relax.
We'll make a mixed drink.
All right, so we started talking about the NFC East with America's team, the Dallas Cowboys.
It's America's team. I'm leaving.
Yeah, I don't like the Cowboys either, so we might be bashing on them a bit here, but let's see here. They didn't really add anybody. Do you think they added anybody? I couldn't find anybody they added.
Nope, not really. No additions.
Okay, so last year they had the 3rd-ranked passing offense, but the 31st rushing defense, or not defense, offense, sorry. They're the 19th ranked passing offense, or defense, and the 22nd ranked rushing defense. So let's just jump right into it. What do you think about the Cowboys this year, Ryan?
I actually have the Cowboys doing pretty good. I mean, they've got a strong offensive unit there. Tony Romo, finally cleared to practice after missing 6 months of workouts due to having an assist, but now, he's back. He's only going to have 40-some days to, get into football shape, but he said he's going to do everything he can to come out strong like he did last year. As you said, they're the number 3 passing team in the nation, and Tony Romo's always been the guy that puts up strong numbers. It's just whether he can perform late in the season like he was unable to do last year.
Yeah. I mean, last year, Tony Romo had a really good year in terms of yards. He had 4,903 yards, which is pretty good. 28 touchdowns, but 19 interceptions. I think a couple games he had 5 interceptions, didn't he? One game.
Yeah, sometimes, when the pressure gets to him, he's been known to fumble the kickoff snap or the field goal snap away, so it just depends.
Yeah. They do have...
It's going to be interesting to see how he performs after he got his big contract extension, so let's see if he lives up to the pressure.
I was kind of surprised when he got that. I think he's a good quarterback, but he still hasn't won anything. When you're Dallas, I feel like you got to win something, eventually.
He's a guy that throws the ball around, and the wide receiver core with Dez Bryant, Miles Austin, and Jason Witten all had over 940 yards and 48 first downs each. So that's a good core right there.
Exactly, and they had a pretty solid defense too. I mean, it wasn't that great, but they had two defensive players that both had 11 sacks: Anthony Spencer and DeMarcus Ware. And then so the Cowboys could definitely make a splash in the NFC East. I feel like that division's always very competitive, and I think they'll be near the top. Where do you think they'll compete in this league?
Yeah, I think they're going to be fighting the title in this league. But for the defense, they lost defense coordinator Rob Ryan to the Saints, and the problem with them was the turnovers. They were minus 13 with turnovers, which isn't very good. So they're going to look to work on that. Is there going to be a QB battle here in Dallas? Last year, Kyle Orton had 137 QB rating, while Tony Romo only had 90. So, what do you know?
Yeah. You never know, especially if Tony Romo comes out and throws 5 interceptions in multiple games, he might be cut off again. So, that's our preview of the Dallas Cowboys. Up next, we got the Washington Redskins. So the second team we're going to talk about in the NFC East is the Washington Redskins. The team with the most offensive name in the division or in the league.
I'm so glad that the representatives of our states are talking about that rather than fixing our economical problems and welfare. So thank you for that, House of Representatives.
Hey, it's important football, man. But just like the Cowboys, I don't have any key additions really for the Redskins. Do you have any key additions?
No key additions.
Yeah, it's weird. But so the first thing you got to talk about when we're going to talk about the Redskins is RG3's knee. Of course, last year he blew his ACL, MCL, I don't know, not one of them bad knee joints or whatever. But he did have a good year. 3,200 yards, 20 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, along with 815 rushing yards and 7 touchdowns. So do you think RG3 is going to have a solid second year?
Well, my opinion on second-year quarterbacks as it is. I just feel like they're going to slump. It's just been known to happen. Really, RG3 is coming off a serious knee injury, and he's not Adrian Peterson. And I just feel like with his style of play, he doesn't slide very much, he doesn't go out of bounds very much. He's a pretty brittle guy. He's not that big like Cam Newton. So when he takes those hits, it takes a toll on him. So I think, his stats are going to slide, maybe not passing-wise, but rushing-wise, I think he'll go down. But, he had a tremendous rookie season with only 5 interceptions with 27 total touchdowns. That's just a pretty good ratio, in my opinion.
Yeah, they have a really solid running back, so I don't feel like RG3 needs to run as much as he does, but I think Mike Shanahan will probably still try to run him as much as he did last year, just because when you have that running quarterback, it opens more options for different plays. But we're talking about a good running back. Alfred Morris last year had 1,600 yards and 13 touchdowns. So between those two, they had over 2,000 yards rushing. They were the number 1 rushing offense in the league. So do you think Alfred Morris could have a solid year this year too?
Yeah, definitely. I think he's going to be the focal point of the offense. At least early on in the season, RG3, we're going to see how his knee develops and if he's going to be able to play with it. But I think the majority of the running plays are going to go through Alfred Morris. But I don't see RG3 being able to run very much this year, so Morris is going to have to put an even bigger load on his back this year.
Yep. And RG3's got some good targets to throw to. He's got Pierre Garçon, who had 633 yards for 4 touchdowns, and of course the veteran Santana Moss with 573 yards and 8 touchdowns last year. Do you think those two wide receivers can have another decent years?
Yeah. At first, people thought Pierre Garçon was only a good receiver because he had Peyton Manning throwing to him. But then last year with Redskins, it showed that he's the real deal. And he's got the burner speed and he's got good hands. So look for that to happen. Santana Moss is a proven veteran. What's interesting to me is that 8 different receivers on the Redskins caught touchdown passes, and RG3 only threw 20 touchdown passes. Kirk Cousins got a few in there, but 8 different receivers with that little touchdowns thrown the whole season. That just shows they got a lot of weapons. They can just move the ball around.
Yeah. And on the defensive side, London Fletcher is still going to be leading the team. So they had a pretty good rushing defense last year, but a not so good passing defenses last year. But I think the Redskins can definitely also compete in this division. Like I said earlier, it's this division's kind of hard to predict, but I think the Redskins will be a fun team to watch. RG3 is always fun to watch, and yeah. And you got anything else on the Redskins before we move on to the Giants?
Yep, as you mentioned, they had the 30th ranked passing defense, and you look at the quarterbacks in their division. They've got Eli Manning and Tony Romo, who are 2 of the upper echelon quarterbacks, so that's going to be pretty hard on them. And not to mention, they have a grueling last few games at the end of the season. They finished the season at Philadelphia, against San Francisco, New York Giants, Kansas City, then at Atlanta, then Dallas, and then at New York. So those are some pretty tough teams mixed with the Kansas City team that looks to improve. So it's going to be a hard stretch.
Yeah, for sure. Well, next we're going to talk about Eli Manning and the New York Giants. All right. The third team we're going to talk about, the NFC East, is the New York Giants. Of course, 2 years ago they won the Super Bowl. But last year, absent from the playoffs. No key additions here either. Do you have any key additions for the Giants? I guess no one in the NFC likes to add people.
Yeah, no kidding. I don't have any key additions here, so I guess it's just going to be pretty much the same from last year.
Yeah, I guess they don't want to make the playoffs again. But Eli Manning had a all right year. 3,948 yards, 26 touchdowns, and 15 interceptions. Here's a little interesting stat. No team has ever played the Super Bowl in their home stadium. And of course, this year the Super Bowl is in Giants home stadium.
New York, yep.
So that also eliminates the Jets, but who were kidding? No one thought the Jets were going to make the Super Bowl this year. But
Jets-Giants Super Bowl, breaking history.
That'd be pretty crazy, but it's not going to happen.
No,
But
definitely not.
for some reason, the Giants got rid of their leading rusher last year, Ahmad Bradshaw. But David Wilson's the new number one and could be splitting time with Andre Brown. They gave Victor Cruz a big contract. So, yeah, what do you think about the Giants this year, Ryan?
Well, I mean, it goes down to the biggest worst guy ever in the trees. You never know. Eli's just a spotty guy. Last year he had two 3-game stretches. 3-game stretch with 789 yards, 8 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions, and also a 3-game stretch with 532 yards, 0 touchdowns, and interceptions. So, you never know what you're going to get with him. But last year, most of the time, making Victor Cruz have to play a bigger role. Victor Cruz also inconsistent, 10 games below 60 yards. And he had also his average went down from 18.7 to 12.7. So, it's just a matter of which Victor Cruz is going to show up that game. But last year the Giants were 7-1 when Victor Cruz scored a touchdown. So looks like most of their success depends on Victor Cruz.
Yeah, and they obviously realized that because they gave Victor Cruz that extension. But it's a tough division, and
it is very tough.
I don't know where the Giants are going to land, but it will always be interesting to watch them, of course. So. Anything else before we close on the Giants?
Yeah, usually the Giants have a stout defensive line. Last year, Osi Umenyiora had a career low of 4 sacks, and Jason Pierre-Paul went from 16.5 in 2001 to 6.5 in 2012. And that was 2011, not 2001. So, that's just going to see if those two can improve and, put some pressure on the quarterbacks.
For sure. Well, we end our conversation with the Philadelphia Eagles. So we finished our talk about the NFC East with the dream team, the Philadelphia Eagles. Yeah. Just like the rest of the NFC team, East teams, I have no key additions for them. Any key additions?
Chip Kelly from the University of Oregon.
Yep, of course. Like you said, it's Chip Kelly's first year. Had to get out of Oregon before the sanctions came down on him, I guess. Just like Pete Carroll.
It's just a coincidence. Those are two coincidences.
Yeah. Michael Vick's health is always a big issue in Philadelphia. Last year, he had those great problems, and they had to give him Kevlar because I guess getting hit by a linebacker is like getting shot.
Michael Vick should know all about getting shot. Indian gangster.
Yeah, I mean, he's had a hard time, man. Because of that, Nick Foles actually got some rotation. He had about 1,700 yards, 6 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. So do you think Michael Vick can stay healthy this whole year?
No, definitely not. Michael Vick's never healthy. And he's got a 4-way quarterback battle with Nick Foles, Matt Barkley, who just got drafted, and then Dennis Dixon, another University of Oregon guy. So who knows, maybe him and Chip Kelly have some chemistry there. But I think really, in the end, it's going to be Matt Barkley starting at the end of the season. I just think Matt Barkley, his accuracy and his decision-making is far better than Michael Vick. Michael Vick, though, had about the same yards per game, same turnover ratio, and same rushing as he had the year before. So, it's pretty consistent, but they're consistently losing, so maybe you don't want that.
Yeah. We joke about it. Vince Young saying that they were the dream team, 2 years ago when they had that really awesome roster, but they haven't produced since then, Last 2 years they've just been really awful. But even LaShawn McCoy, he's supposed to be this great running back, but he only had 840 yards last year and 2 touchdowns. So,
3 fumbles.
3 fumbles. So, if he doesn't perform, look for the Eagles to suck again. But, they got some good receivers if Michael Vick can throw the ball or if, someone else who can throw the ball a bit more accurately comes in. Macklin, of course, and Jackson. So there's some potential there.
Jeremy Macklin his knee.
What?
Jeremy Macklin tore his knee today.
Oh, today?
Yep.
Shit. Is he
So
out
there
there?
goes one receiver.
Okay, I guess they're down a receiver. But yeah, I think Michael Vick not being a starting quarterback would probably help the Eagles. He's old. He's getting older. He's not as accurate as he used to be. He can't run as well, and his ribs have obviously affected his career. So I think I agree with you that eventually he's going to come in out of that starting quarterback position and be warming the bench for a while, just like he did in prison. So stay tuned because we're going to predict who we think is going to win the NFC East. All right, we conclude our talk about the NFC East, of course, with who we think is going to win the division. So, who do you think is going to win, Ryan?
Well, this division is pretty tough to predict, like always. Every one of these teams, I feel, could make a run for it, and then every one of these teams could crumble and fall. But, underneath all that rubble, I think is going to be the Dallas Cowboys coming out on top. They've got a strong receiving core. They've got strong defensive linemen. They got a quarterback who just got an extension. I think he's tired of everyone thinking he can't perform. So he's going to go out there and win him a division. Who knows? Maybe they'll make a splash in the playoffs, but I got the Dallas Cowboys.
All right. Well, I'm going to have to disagree with you. I don't think Tony Romo is going to perform at all. He's going to choke just like always, especially down the home stretch. And I have the Washington Redskins winning this division again. RG3, Alfred Morris, they were a powerhouse in rushing last year, and I think they're just going to get better this year. Even with RG3's knee, technology nowadays, we've seen AP come back from it. We've seen Payton do awesome after that neck surgery.
He missed a whole year. Payton missed a whole year.
Yeah, but I don't know. RG3 can come back and perform pretty well, I think.
Derrick Rose?
He's young. Is
Derrick Rose old?
No, but Derrick Rose is a pussy. So, there's a difference. He plays basketball, not football. So I think the Redskins...
Maybe they should get Brittany Griner to play quarterback for him. She looks just like RG3.
Yeah, that'd be a big crazy baby if they got together. Isn't he engaged?
Maybe they'll swap places for a season.
Yeah. That'd be pretty noticeable, I think, though.
Juwan man.
Yeah. Anyways, I have the Redskins winning. So, our first disagreement in the NFC. Let's see how the rest of it goes. This wraps our NFC East up. So, stay tuned next time where we talk about the NFC South.
South side.